topic for this month is all about how to pivot from a workshop, a seminar that you put on to that one-on-one meeting. And I, when I was thinking about what we should talk about this month, I had two instances of two separate interactions with advisors about this very topic. And to me, that was like, all right, let's just talk about it as a group. The first was Sean, when we were doing our acquisition webinar series about targeting Gen X and what that looks like, doing Social Security presentations for Gen X. And one of the questions we got from the audience was, like, how do I invite people to a one-on-one meeting afterwards without it sounding salesy? And we get that
Right.
question often. And then I was also meeting with an advisor one-on-one. She was part of my Liftoff Financial Educator Marketing Group. I met with her on Monday, and she's in the process of developing a workshop series about getting organized financially. And she's doing these small groups, and it's a really great, cool idea. And, she has these slides built out. She's put a lot of work into it. And she said to me, it's not natural for me to have that pivot. Like I just always feels kind of difficult for me to pivot to asking people to come in for a meeting. And so those two instances, I said, what, I think maybe this is a good topic to talk
Yeah.
about as a group because I think it's common to have those anxieties. I think a lot of advisors feel this concern of coming off as salesy or it's this like hard pivot and it's a bait and switch and I think a lot of times that's just more in our heads than it is an issue in reality, because really when you think about putting on an educational event to a group, you're doing your best to give this knowledge to the group as a whole, but everyone sitting in that room is thinking about their particular situation and what all of this information means for them. However, you can't go through 30 individual situations in this group setting. Number one, you don't have the time. Number two, no one wants to share their information with everyone. Number three, it's just not fair to the rest of the group. So I always like to think of that one-on-one meeting of really not of it being more of this one-on-one educational opportunity, right? You're taking your education from this group setting to now this one-on-one setting where you can get into the personal details and help someone really figure out what their situation is and what that looks like here. So I think number one, we need to kind of switch in our minds this, I'm inviting them in for a sales meeting to no, I'm inviting them in to have this one-on-one education where this is impossible to do in a group setting. They need to come in. I need to see their information. We need to be in private to have this conversation. And it's a continuation of that educational process and not necessarily we're switching into a sales mode here, right? Because I'm sure most advisors sitting on this call, your first meeting is a lot of discovery and a lot of back and forth conversation and talking about goals. There's a lot of education going on in that meeting, and it's not necessarily you trying to sell them on becoming a client right away. You're having that back and forth, that education. So, number one, that is kind of, I think we need a mindset switch of this isn't a sales meeting, this is just the next step in the educational process for attendees. Sean, you have anything to add before I keep going there?
Well, just that, I'm anxious to make the observation that all good educational events that are delivered by advisor um, are naturally constructed to take the next step of getting a very customized one-on-one, for instance, with Social Security, it's come in and we're going to run an optimization report for you and or your spouse and when you should claim and looking at the various options. And um, as I like to point out, Chad Henry and some other advisors actually bring a copy of the optimization report to their presentations. And as they go through the presentation, and so in this case, the topic Social Security, there is like many, many times in the presentation where the particular point that he's making is, again, something that as this will relate to you specifically, you will see when we run, a specific optimization report for you, which I will be giving you more details about at the end of the meeting. But, Smart Advisor will constantly reference that, announce it at the very beginning in their, opening remarks, and then continue to reference it as the presentation goes on. I even knew one advisor who ran the optimization report for himself and his wife, and had it and passed it around the audience. In a live event. And again, so that's very tangible. And the whole thing, in terms of the minds of the people who are in attendance, is you're trying to move from natural skepticism or resistance to going to the office of a financial advisor who you really don't know. Okay, and that's a resistance that starts before the presentation or during the presentation. But by the end, your goal is to reduce that anxiety and elevate in people's minds and give them a very clear picture of, oh, what is this meeting with Devin going to be like? Oh, this is this optimization report, and I'm going to give them in advance my PIA from the Social Security Administration and that of my spouses, and we're going to, sit down and have this very detailed discussion that's really just a continuation of your educational event. And also I just want to mention Matt Donahue is a successful advisor out of Houston or Austin, I think. And he does dinner events, but he doesn't sign up anybody for his dinner education events if they don't agree to on the front end that basically you're coming to a two-part event, educational event with a meal, part two, one-on-one meeting where we kind of translate the strategy of the topic at hand to specific tactics that relate to you and your life. And he's had great success there as well, Devin. So
Yeah, that's
anyway,
great. Yeah, that leads me into kind of some other things I definitely wanted to touch on. Number one being what you said of introducing the one-on-one meeting, or someone in the chat here said personalized strategy session, which I also like that term of, adding it on to this educational event. But introducing the idea of this meeting early on in your presentation, right? You shouldn't be waiting until the last slide to say, hey, by the way, you have a chance to come in and
right.
have this meeting. We know from, psychological science and everything that when people come into your event, they have anxieties, right? About who you are, what you're going to be telling them, what the next steps are going to be. If you can reduce those anxieties by introducing that meeting early on, and Sean, like you said, especially if you have an example of the report that they're going to get, and see exactly what they're going to do in those next steps, that can help not only reduce anxiety, but plant in their head that, yes, we're going to be talking about a lot of things tonight. You're going to be wondering about your situation. I can't answer questions about your situation in this setting, but you can come in and you're going to be able to have those questions answered. That allows people to pay better attention to what you're doing, and know what's coming next. Some of our best
Yeah.
advisors who do events are mentioning the follow-up meeting 4, 5, 6, 7 times throughout their 45-minute presentation. This shouldn't ever be an add-on at the end. This should be
Right.
part of your presentation. And you can build it in different ways, right? You do it in the opening by saying, by the way, you're going to have the opportunity to come in and do this. You can use it in when you're telling client stories, right? You can even say, I was able to discover that this person really had a deceased spousal benefit that they never knew about, and it changed their life. That's something we would uncover in our one-on-one meeting. There are so many natural ways
Yeah.
to fill it in, but it should never be a one-off that you're mentioning in the last 5 minutes when people are, gathering their papers and, packing up for the night. It should be part of the presentation, and there should be various points that you touch upon that. And I think, Sean, to your point too, showing what a customized report looks like, being able to pass that around also is a great way to not only ease that anxiety, but show the value of coming in for that meeting as well. And it's not just, the sales thing, you're providing real value.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
The
lot
other
of,
thing
yeah.
is in your opening introduction, like there's a guy, Jeff Young, out of Phoenix or Scottsdale, um, and he loves making Social Security presentations. And one of the things he does at toward the very beginning of his presentation is he says to the audience, "Now you may be wondering, why am I, a financial advisor, here today to talk to you about Social Security, a government income insurance program?" And then he says, well, the reason is that I've been in the business for more than, 35 years. So I've seen many people go from, saving for retirement, being pre-retirees, and then transitioning into retirement. Um, and I've come across many cases over the years where people have sort of unilaterally gone out and unnecessarily claimed Social Security at age 62 without thinking about how it fits into their retirement income plan or any of that sort of thing. And they have come to me to be their advisor with a limitation of having claimed Social Security too early. And now we need to get together and figure out a strategy for the retirement income that's going to kind of cover up or close the gap that was unintentionally created by them having claimed too soon. And I don't want you to do that if you really, if you don't need to. And that's why it's, important for me. I feel it's important for me to be out here educating the public about Social Security because people don't have enough knowledge and they make a lot of mistakes. And I want to prevent people from making unnecessary mistakes. So that's why I'm here. That's why I go out into the public and talk about Social Security. Then he transitions from we're going to speak. I'm going to give you all this information. And, that's when he first introduces the idea of a one-on-one meeting as well. But I think for nearly all the topics that advisors present on, you can go with that. Why am I a financial advisor here to talk to you about taxes? I'm not an accountant, right?
Mhm.
Or long-term care. I don't sell insurance, right? I'm a financial planner, whatever the case may be. It's a good little, framework to kind of be a little personal and connect with your audience right from the get-go. So, Devin, back to you.
Yeah, great tip. And then, when we look at when we teach our Liftoff financial educator marketing class, we kind of go through many, many case studies of advisors who are putting on events and the different ways that they do various parts of their event. And what's so great is that there's so many different ways to do things, but advisors have found so many different ways to make their strategies work. And so when we look at introducing the follow-up meeting and booking the appointment, there are some, different methods that advisors have for booking that meeting, right? Some people want to book those meetings that night that people are at the event. And I think that's usually a good goal to go for to get people as quickly as they can. So a lot of advisors will, on the evaluation form that they hand out, usually our best advisors will print it on a piece of colored paper. So it stands out from anything else that you're printing. So a lot of people will do like a green sheet and they'll hold up the green sheet at the beginning of the presentation and say, here's your green sheet. You can fill out the evaluation. Also, you can write your questions down here, and there's a space for you to say if you would like to come in for a meeting, put down some dates and times that work for you, your contact information, someone from our team will reach out. I think that's a really great method to capture people, while their attention is really, really high, and be able to follow up. Some advisors will do something similar where if they have something like a Calendly or like an online calendar set up, they'll have a QR code printed out that goes there that people then can kind of match up with their schedule and book appointments on the spot. That's another method that works. Some will just like say identify if you want to come in, and again, they'll have someone from their team call. No matter what method you choose, you should still be following up with everyone, whether or not they indicated that they want to come in or not, via phone immediately after the event, and just having a chance to say, hey, thanks for coming out for the event. Do you have any questions? Again, reiterating your offer, even if they didn't, take that opportunity right away. Sometimes people need to go home and think about things. You don't want to depend on them reaching out to you. You should be reaching out to people immediately and starting that follow-up process, no matter how you choose to book the appointments. And of course, those who indicated, yes, I want an appointment, those should be scheduled as soon as possible, and you should be reaching out, or someone on your team should be reaching out to confirm those appointments as well. You don't want to let too much time lapse there where, things come up, people lose interest. You need to really get on that as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's good, Devin. Thanks. Shall we move on to part two?
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right. Part two is where we tee up very specific things you should be doing marketing related here in August this month and looking out 8 weeks to what we are anticipating doing next month as well. So, Devin, you want to step us through that?
Yep. So right now I am looking at our advisor client marketing calendar. Here we pick your communication touches for the month. Presentations, they're all built around different financial themes. So all of your marketing really goes well together and seems cohesive. And so for the month of August, our theme is college planning. It's kind of that, back to school mindset. So we have a reprint that's 7 steps to take on the road to college. This is all about, things to know about funding college, grants, scholarships, tuition resources, loans. So it's a good kind of introduction to the college planning funding process and what that looks like. In addition, what I really want to spend a moment talking about here is our additional handout for the month of August. This is our key college funding data card. This is a really, really impactful piece to send out to parents or grandparents that have kids in high school, maybe even like eighth grade. But it's all about what they need to start thinking about now in the college planning process. So there's this roadmap here, things that they should look through, then some additional information about all the various aspects of paying for college. So again, financial aid, admissions, on the backside, there's a section about loans and grants and scholarships, what it really costs to go, in state versus out of state. There's a lot of great resources on here. And again, you might assume that maybe they're getting this information from their high school counselors. They're not. They're getting, college information, but there's really a huge gap in kind of the financial aspect of college where parents aren't getting this information, and it makes making decisions much harder around the college planning process. And so this is a really great handout that you can personalize with your information, get it out to your parents and grandparents, and this is going to provide great value for them going through the college planning process.
Devin, I see we have Justin Peak on the call by
Yes.
coincidence today.
Yes.
And Justin is somebody who's really kind of made college planning a niche business that he pursues. And he was saying he loves that piece. It is great. It's great to put that thing in front of any of your clients. They got a kid that's just entering high school. Get that in front of them, starting that freshman year, so that they can start seeing it and thinking about it. We know that way too many families kind of don't look at the college thing until it gets very late in the game, and then they're rushing around making visits and still unclear about exactly how they're going to, what their strategy is for paying for it and all that sort of thing. So anyway, it is a great topic, and one that good information to provide to clients, even if you're not going to specialize in or pursue the college, the college planning aspects of financial planning.
Yeah, thank you. And then looking forward quickly to September, we'll talk about this more next month, but our theme there is healthcare planning. We have a reprint on pre-Medicare planning, things that people should think about before they sign up for Medicare. So some of, the misconceptions out there that people don't necessarily know before they get to that Medicare age. So things like your doctor may not accept Medicare, you can't contribute to an HSA anymore. So kind of these like, good to knows before you go through the process of signing up for Medicare. Again, you can segment your list here if you have people who are, turning 65 in the next 4 years. Maybe you want to, get this piece out to them. But there's a lot of confusion around Medicare. Even those people who are going into to sign up at 65, a lot of them don't have a ton of information on it. I can just speak for myself. Both my parents signed up for Medicare this past year, and luckily I have some information being in the space I'm in, but um, they didn't have a lot of information. Still working, their employers didn't have a lot of information to share with them about what they needed to sign up for, what they didn't. So there's a huge opportunity here just to, again, be sharing knowledge, just like college planning, where people need this information, and you can be a great resource for that. So that is what we're looking at for September.
Yeah, right. One of the things about the Medicare stuff is like, you know, it's probably good to ultimately soften the blow for your high net worth clients who are going to be slightly aghast at their Medicare premiums because of IRMA surcharges, because they're make a lot of money and they're going to make it even in retirement. Uh, and people get very get their noses kind of out of shape for a little bit. And so the degree you can start entering the IRMA surcharge thing into the picture so that when the day comes and they see how much they're paying monthly for Medicare, they won't be maybe quite as outraged as some of them are, even though frankly but whatever. Um, Normally you're in that situation because you're doing pretty darn well. So anyway,
We have
Devin,
a
should we move
comment
on
here
to
from
part?
We
Yeah,
have a comment from
yeah,
Justin saying he has an idea he'd like to share, which I
sure.
think that's fine.
Come on down, Justin. Come off mute. Yeah.
We're doing with the IECs has just absolutely positively exploded.
What
We're
you're
now
doing with what? Hang on. You use some
IECs.
jargon there. IECs.
Yep,
What's an
sorry, the
IEC?
independent education consultants for those that aren't
Okay.
familiar.
Mhm.
Um, Savvy College, couple things. It's finding us our ideal next gen clients, as sadly our clients that are in their 80s and 90s pass away. Um, and it's and for those that haven't looked at this space, it's extremely valuable for that because the families that come to us strictly from working with an education consultant, they're already paying for advice. They're
Yeah.
already
Yeah. It's good.
taking the advice. But what's new is that our brand and our business is now getting messaged for free across 6 different high schools about 6 to 8 times a year because we've set up we finally figured out trial and error. We approach the foundations of the high school and we let them know that, hey, for a $250 donation to your foundation, so everybody here can do this in your community tomorrow, start to.
Mhm.
Um, we provide them a monthly office hour that I host. So all the school's parents can come to the 1 hour. So it
The
costs me
one
one
office
hour a
hour.
month, and they get 12 months access to College Aid Pro through me. And I am getting, free advertising and families that
Yeah.
are starting to
Fantastic.
come
Yeah.
on board on the individual side. So I know
Mhm.
people might think, oh, college, it is finding your ideal next gen clients. So I
Yeah.
just
Right.
want to
Yeah.
reinforce that for those that aren't familiar with it.
And Justin, at some point, I thought you were totally doing college stuff, but are you funneling these clients over to other advisors, or are they're becoming your clients?
Yeah, no, it's always been the mainstay has been traditional financial planning
Okay. All right. Okay.
clients.
Good.
We're just gathering them at the front end
Yeah.
through
Okay.
college.
All right.
And
So
yeah, so
you're an exemplar of someone who's executing on a niche strategy and it's working. So,
it's really working. Yeah, thank you.
yep.
And thank you to you guys because you put it all
Yeah.
together. And if you
Yeah.
haven't read
No.
the Savvy College
Okay.
Planning Guide, you are leaving dollars on the table.
All right. Thanks for that. All right, Devin. Back to our
Yes.
regularly scheduled event here, and we're down to member questions.
Yep.
And so, Devin, I'll pose the first member question to you. Someone says, I sponsor a free local, sponsor a few local community events and little league teams. Is that kind of grassroots marketing still worth it, or should that budget go elsewhere? Interesting question.
This is an interesting question. I think it kind of depends on what you're looking to get out of it. I think it's great to be involved in the community. I think that's a great way to maybe build relationships. However, I don't necessarily think you should expect to see a huge ROI on that, what you're investing in that. Now, I will say as a caveat, my son started Little League this year in T-ball, and his team was actually sponsored by a financial advisor in the area. And being in the
Wait a
space,
second, Devin, how old is your son?
he's
He was
4.
just
They
born
start
like a
really
couple.
young. I don't know.
He's
It's
he's
wild.
4?
Yeah.
Four? Right. Okay.
So it was T-ball, and by T-ball, I use that very loosely. It was more everyone dive on the ball at once. But anyway, my point being, they were actually sponsored by a financial advisor firm in my area. So obviously I Googled them immediately. It's on the
Oh,
back of, the
interesting.
jersey and all of that. So, I took a look at it. I think that some people do. However, I can't say you're going to get a ton of clients for it. I think it's a good thing to be involved in the community. I think that's important to prospects and clients where you can say, "Hey, I'm involved in this, or I sponsor this 5K for this cause, or we do Toys for Tots every year." I think that's good community building in your area. I don't necessarily know if it's going to bring in you a ton of new
Right.
business. However, again, I
Right.
think if that's something that you feel passionate about, if you want to be involved in the community, I wouldn't look at it as like a waste of money. However, I don't think it's, the number $1 spent for marketing.
Yeah, right. I mean, this sort of thing is really, goes to the trust building and relationship marketing that you're out in the community, you're being seen, your name is there. And uh, but I would kind of scratch my head a tiny bit like, wow, is Little League really your target audience?
Probably
Even
not.
though you're
That's the
not
other
getting
thing,
clients
right?
directly from it,
Right.
right?
That's the
But
other thing. You have to think about the audience of the people there and if that's who you want. However, I do think a lot of sponsors just feel like passionately about giving back to the
sure.
community and that's why
Yep,
they want to do it. But yeah, to your point of maybe, you think about community events that are really your target market are going to be attending and you are a sponsor there. But I think it does help with that trust building, relationship building, just being a known brand in your community that could be helpful. But again, it shouldn't be the only marketing you're doing. It's kind of
definitely,
this, I would
definitely not.
almost
Yeah.
like funnel it under community relationship even more than marketing.
Now I know, there are some advisors out there, not many, who they're not necessarily heading at the pre-retiree market. They're going, sort of downstream and playing a longer game. And they're looking for, you know, young families and professionals that they want to start getting into their practice earlier. So, community sports or
Hmm.
community events or the 5K or something, might be helpful.
Yeah, it's a way to get your name
It's
out,
kind of like
certainly.
what is the package too? It's
Yeah,
like is it something that's in the something that's on the left field that's at the
right.
softball field and out in left field, or is it something that's in whatever it's
Yeah,
you get the march in the parade on Memorial Day with all the teams, or whatever. That there's a lot of things to consider
yeah,
there, but
for sure.
the key point is it's building trust, and it's not a hard dollar convert to clients kind of marketing spend, I would think.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, our second question. How do I keep my marketing message consistent now that I have a team of three other advisors under my practice? Everyone seems to be doing their own thing.
Yeah, this is a great question because it tees up the opportunity for me to talk about um, particularly a firm that has four advisors, the importance of having um, we call it a message platform in our AI for Advisors Pro program. We actually have a tool that steps people through about 8 or 10 questions about your practice and then creates a 26-point message platform. The manner in which you are speaking about your business. And for somebody, the questioner here who has, three other, so it's a total of four advisors in the firm, um, having a message platform as a document that everybody uses so that they're all on the same page is going to be critical to making sure that, as I say, everybody's singing from the same hymn book, right? And so when you have this message platform completed by AI, then you can come back to it and say, ask it to give you a one-page takeaway for everybody on the team that answers, basically four questions. Who you serve, meaning who your ideal clients are. What are the key problems you solve? Uh, what makes your firm different? And then what's your planning philosophy? And so if you complete the message platform and then you ask AI to help you answer those four questions based on your message platform, it will produce a one-page messaging guide that you and the other advisors on your team can do a little bit of training about so that everybody is saying the same thing. In our AI program, I use a, a simulated firm called Bailey Financial Planning. I use it as a way to demonstrate to everybody in the program, how to use AI for marketing. And so I took the message platform from Bailey Financial Planning, this one pager for other people, presumably the three other advisors on the team. So, it answered the question, who do we serve? Affluent professionals and business owners, typically 40 to 65, with 250,000 in annual income plus 1 million in investable assets. They're focused on preserving wealth, preparing for retirement, and building a lasting family legacy. So that's the answer to who we serve. What problems do we solve? We help clients with complex retirement decisions get greater clarity. Our work addresses tax-efficient retirement income planning, Social Security timing, coordinated withdrawal strategies, concerns about market volatility and changing tax laws, and wealth preservation across generations. Boom, very tight, very concrete. People hearing that can see in their minds, okay, wow, you guys, I understand what business you're in. The question, what makes us different? We combine investment planning, retirement income strategy, Social Security analysis, and proactive tax planning in one coordinated approach. Our team includes 3 CFP professionals and a CPA specializing in retirement tax strategies. Through our Tax Smart Retirement Review, the process, we identify opportunities many investment-focused firms may overlook. And then the next question is, how do we describe our process? Well, there's an initial analysis, and I'm not going to read through everything here. Then there's a retirement readiness assessment. Then there's a personalized plan creation. And then there's implementation and ongoing support. And then the last question is, what words do we want everyone using? And so then there's a list of words: tax smart retirement planning, coordinated retirement strategy, financial clarity, retirement confidence, tax efficient income, Social Security optimization, wealth preservation, transparent fee-only advice, generational planning, and building wealth through generations. And so, that's really about 350 words chunked up into 4 main topics. And, you and anybody else on your team could have something similar and train around it. Certainly, if you have 4 advisors, you still want them to have their own individual personalities, right? They can speak and write differently, but the things that they're speaking and writing and talking about need to be, everybody needs to be on that same one pager there, speaking about the firm using the same terms and the same framework and so on and so forth. So I think that would be the way to go on that one.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Brings us to the end of this month's monthly marketing meeting. Any additional questions or comments from anybody? Okay, well, thanks everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you later.